The House of Mystery presents Inside Writing, the radio show where authors discuss their writing process in all genres.
You are back in the House of Mystery, and of course I'm Al Warren, and riding on the side we've got Mr. David Rose North Martino.
There we go. We can add another name.
Yeah, it's
Perfect.
Rose Tattoo.
Rose again?
It's Rose. Yeah, it's a rosy week.
Rosy.
The week is rosy. Well,
all good things.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but so interesting show today. We've got someone that's kind of all over the place and doing publishing and writing and comedy and radio, and I even think he's a stripper from what I hear, but I don't know. We'll find out. And you know, the strangest thing, I noticed he's from the UK and he's living now in the US. So that always makes me wonder. Running from the law, you know? Anyway, so we'll find out. So joining us now on the line, we've got Mr. James H. Longmore. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me on the show.
So of course, you're welcome. We're glad to have you. And so you went from Yorkshire to Texas. Like, what's wrong with you?
Well, my ex-wife is from here. We met over there and came over here and got divorced.
So it's a green card. Okay, now.
So what I do, I'm actually applying for citizenship this year for my sins, but again, being a Yorkshireman, that's more of a financial decision, because then you get that, then I don't have to reapply for my green card because it's 7 years or whatever. So there's that. I like it here. I like the warmth. I mean, Houston gets damned hot in the summer, but you know, I like it. The people they're very similar to Yorkshire people. Actually, Texas is very insular. You know, we meet a Texan over there. Anyway, in England or wherever, and they're from Texas. Yeah, Texas first, and then I'm American. Same with Yorkshire people. You know, we Yorkshire people first and foremost. And we don't like to be lumped in with the rest of the British people. So again, the mentality is very similar. So I mean, they're great people here. I like it. You know, the kids are doing well. You know, it's good education for the children. Yeah, and I think for what I do, obviously writing wise, publishing wise, I don't think I could have certainly done it to the amount of success in England as here. I mean, it's a bigger market for starters. You've got more people to go at, which is a good start.
Yeah. You can win by just volume, not even quality.
Well, you know, that's not our mission statement at Hellbound Book, to be honest. We try to we aim for quality. When we started the company, and it was started because in my early days of being published, I had some pretty bad experience at the hands of indie publishers, and wanted to give authors, certainly up-and-coming authors, a better experience. You know, so literally took everything that had happened to me and did the opposite. And people like that. You know, they like to be treated properly and be listened to and all the rest, and paid. People get their royalties, which can be a rarity.
Yeah. The whole new business side of this with the Amazon opening the doors, you really don't know who you can trust unless you work with them or unless you know people that do. So it's kind of it can be a shady business.
You know, it is. There's a bunch of small presses that were around when we started. When we officially launched, we launched as an LLC on January the 1st, 2016, but we were sort of going, we're just sort of getting things started before that. There's a bunch that no longer around. Over the past 6 years, we've seen them pop up and go away again. And we've just, kept our head down. We stayed out of drama, focused on quality, putting out good stuff. And it's a formula that's worked. You know, we managed through the COVID years where, a lot of people struggle through that. Obviously, it was not an easy time, but, we stuck to our core values, which is literally, and again, my business partner, Xtina, will vouch for me. I say our first core value is no drama. We don't get involved in online, social media drama that like a lot do. And you see this as soon as they engage in in that, it's the death knell. You know what's, you can pretty much count down to when they announce that they're closing the doors for whatever reason, So, but we just kept that, and we've had people, and there's a lot of haters in the industry. I've had people taking a pop at us, and for whatever reason, it can be jealousy, it can be because we rejected them or whatever, and we never, because they want their minute of their moment on social media, and we just refuse to give them that. People deal with them professionally, obviously, but like I say, long story short, it's about quality product, and we put out some phenomenal product, great writers, so.
So you hire a hitman to keep people off your back.
Well, as I say, I'm a Yorkshireman. I don't believe in subcontracting. Anything like that, I would do myself. Well, I'm not paying out good money for somebody to do that. No.
That's true. I mean, I like that. But does it worry you at all being in publishing and being so open? Like literally, Dave over there could open up Rose Publishing tomorrow. Yeah. Exactly. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, and then he could bring people on and do things, and then, and with so much of that stuff going on, I think for me, what I'm saying is there's the access is great, and you can have a proper formula and go, okay, we want quality, we want good stuff, good covers, everything, and release it and be all that. But isn't it hard to kind of get respect for the kind of work you're doing with so many other presses and self-publishing out there?
Well, respect is earned. As with anything, the fact that we've been around, the number of years we've been around, speaks volumes. The fact that we have good products, and we attract, big names now. By all means, that you have at it, mate. You open up your small press, and let's see. See how long that goes. You may do phenomenal. We did. We started up front with 5 books, and 2 of which were mine, actually, just to make the numbers up. I threw in a couple of mine. Yeah. I get asked this a lot, and how do I word? Again, I don't want to come off as sounding conceited, because I'm not. A lot of the ones that pop up and fail, it's writers, a writer or a couple of writers get together and say, "Oh, right, let's do let's do our own publishing house, and we'll do really well," and the rest of it, which is fine because they know writing. Invariably, they're not business people, and you get this our publishing house, we treat it's like one big family. Well, Hellbound Books isn't one big family. Hellbound Books is a business. My background is in business. I worked for some big companies like Toyota. I've worked for Duracell. I've worked for LoJack. So big, and I'm trained through sales and marketing and business. So I understand. I remember there was one small publisher popped up. I think they lasted about a year, and we're offering 50% royalties to all our, and we're doing this and doing that, and I said, well, it's just. I know what's sustainable and what isn't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's that mix. I guess it's it's that mix of business and obviously being a writer as well. So I have a foot in both camps. And you look at the likes of, Cemetery Dance. You look at the likes of Joe Meinhardt at Crystal Lake. There's some good people there. And those are the sort of companies that when we started, we said that's where we want to be. We want to be there with Rich Chismar and Joe Meinhardt, and we sort of modelled ourselves on them, and they are incredibly successful. So that's the plan anyway. We've got a ways to go yet, but the way we're going is it's certainly in the right direction.
Well, I know you've written about this in the Harzine. I was just wondering, what do you look for in a submission for Hellbound Books?
First and foremost is a damn good story. It has to be a good story. It's got to have, for me, beginning, a middle, and an end, in that order. So yeah, I mean, we obviously we get a lot of submissions, be it obviously for the anthologies, be it for novels. If it's a a well-worn trope, if it's vampires, if it's werewolves, if it's zombies or COVID based, we've had a lot of pandemic. Please, if anybody's listening, don't send us any more pandemic. We're living it. I don't want to read about it as well. Unless if it's different, we look for different. But a different spin on it. That's, so you can have like our upcoming werewolf anthology, we've Jeannie has gone to great pains to make sure that the stories bring something fresh to the trope. Good writing, obviously. We like our, gore and, a little bit of steaminess and what have you. But, again, a lot of people think horror is just writing page after page of brutal blood and guts and that, and it's just you need the context, is what I'm saying. And again, it's going to make me sound pedantic, but we like to see someone has actually read our guidelines. We're not too strict, but there's a certain font size, a certain layout we ask for, and what have you, and you'd be surprised what we get. And he said, people say, oh well, I don't understand Microsoft Word or whatever. It's okay, you want to be, it's like trying to be a brain surgeon, yeah, with a spoon. If you're going to do it, you need to learn the tools of the trade. If you're going to be a car mechanic, you need to learn how to use the tool. You know what I'm saying? So somebody who doesn't have a basic grasp of how to lay out and how to write properly, and it's not difficult to learn, do a lot of reading and see how it's done and figure it out. Yeah, I'm sounding like a monster now. Ask me something. Ask me about my charity work or something. Work with puppies.
We don't care about charity. Come on.
No. Well, we should make sure we. I know you mentioned it, but we should definitely plug the Horrorzine's Book of Werewolf Stories.
Absolutely. Why is that then? Could somebody here be on it or in it?
No.
Well, Ramsey Campbell's in it.
Ramsey. He is. Ramsey's a great guy. Yeah, great guy.
Well, it's gonna do real well. You got Mr. Dave Martino in it, so
that's right.
I've never heard of him, but
no, neither have I.
Nobody has.
To be honest.
No.
But after this, yeah, everyone's going to hear of him.
It's great bathroom reading.
It definitely, yeah. So is our renowned series. Soon to have the 3rd edition of the Toilet Zone. Which was actually my brainchild because I, as my daughter will testify, I really haven't mentally developed beyond 12, to be honest. And I actually sat down and I calculated the average length of time someone has a sit-down visit to the toilet, and then the average reading speed, and then I worked out an average, the perfect story length, and it's around 4,000 words. The average story length, and we've got Volume 1 and Volume 2 out, Volume 3 is hopefully going to be out later this month, packed with sit-down length stories. So you can have it, we actually have both issues in our downstairs bathroom. So, people go, you just sit and you read a story, then you're finished, So, yeah, I highly recommend it. Again, packed with brilliant stories,
Good word.
All packed. It's a good word, isn't it? It's a good word.
Yeah. Do you have a constipated edition?
What, that'd just be one long story, like a 600-word volume of one
it's
story.
The constipated edition for the person that has to be there longer than normal.
We should do that. We need to do the constipated and allow, novellas in there. That's 6 novellas in there. Yeah.
Now, I noticed in some of your books that you tend to have a, how do I say, kind of a sense of humor as well as kind of an erotic sensuality and kind of horror all in one. When you do something like that, do you find that you have to be careful on how you approach that and what you actually make fun of?
No.
Good.
In a word.
So you're not worried. I'm just, because the times being what they are, and especially the last few years, there's a lot of people that, the offended, the triggering, and all this stuff going around. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure you have to really worry about any government agency taking you down, but just the whole sensitivity of things and I look at something like, so what caught my eye too is you have that I am Joe's unwanted penis. And of course, I want Joe's penis, personally. I look for Joe's penis. So I'm sort of thinking that's a really good title. And then I read what it's about, and you're really kind of talking about having your penis removed, someone that's, to become a woman. And I think and discarding it. And I think that's funny. But that might get people upset. But you don't care. You just kind of go with what.
No, I honestly, again, I sound like a monster. I don't care. If somebody's going to be affected, well, don't read it. That was written a while ago. It's actually pre Donald Trump, because there's a great Donald Trump gag about it. Seriously, you need to read the book. Give me your address afterwards. I'll send you a copy. It's a bizarro novel. It's very tongue-in-cheek, very, very dark. There's a lot of humor in there. There's even I even wrote like a Dr. Seuss style rhyme in the middle of it. But it was actually inspired by the Caitlyn Jenner story. Again, it's going back a few years now. One of my earliest ones. And it's literally, again, I don't know. I know I've had advanced years now, but there was a great series of books. It used to be sections in Reader's Digest. It was a series of books called I Am. In England, it was called I Am John's stomach, I Am John's heart, I Am John's whatever body part, and then it would give you the whole rundown of that body part from its point of view. Over here was I Am Joe's. Yeah, look it up. And there was, again, I love that. I'm actually by education, I'm a zoologist, so I have a strong biology background. So I was fascinated by those as a kid, and obviously fast forward a lot of years. And I thought, let's do the story from the point of view of the penis that is removed, part of the operation, and its quest to get back to its person. And that's how, and it's fun. It meets other body parts along the way, and there's friendships, and it's like a buddy sort of book, and it's good. As far as offending people, no, I'm a writer. I'm a horror writer. I've also been a comedian, and you can't self-censor. For me, people get too easily offended these days. They get offended by words. They get offended by, it's just like, seriously, get over yourselves. I grew up in a time when people didn't didn't choose to get offended by ridiculous things. So.
Well, yeah, the day where you don't like something, you don't read it, you don't buy it, or you don't listen to it. You go, well, that's a terrible show. You turn it. You just don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you've done, as you were saying, you've done stand-up comedy, and which takes comedic timing. Do you think writing dark comedy and fiction also requires a level of timing?
Definitely, yeah. Prose? Yeah, absolutely. It's... I think you said before, earlier, it's a careful mix, you've got to infuse it in the right places. And there is comedy in even the darkest situation. There is humor always there. And like you're saying, everything I've written, there's always that dark vein of humor. Even if it's not like, Joe's penis is out deliberately set out to be comedic, I find, you sprinkle a bit of comedy, usually just before something really nasty happens, and it gives you that wonderful sort of contrast. Yeah? You've got the chuckling away, and that as a bump, something horrible happens, and it just makes it all the more horrible. And you'll find that in a lot of horror movies. Horror movies done well, they will do pretty much the same sort of thing. It's not just, and I've seen some movies where it's just been unrelenting, dark, and it just gets boring. You become desensitized to it,
Yeah.
A golden moment. Pick on, Jaws, for example. He's shoveling the chum in the, off the back of the boat. So you should try shoveling the.
How dare
boom,
you!
The shark fish. That golden moment, absolutely. But that's the sort of effect that I try to create.
How much of you do you put in the stories? Of course, the story's not you intentionally, but with writing in horror comedy like this, how much of your own personality goes into it?
A lot. a lot. I mean, put it this way, I will never have to write my autobiography because it's sort of sprinkled across everything I write. Even when I ghostwrite for people, you know, there's always little bits of me in there, you know. And Tenebrian, which is set in the wonderful world of the independent film communities. I was part of, I did a few short movies in the Houston film community. And that's probably got the most of me in it because, again, it comes from personal experience of being in that environment. And, it's funny, somebody actually commented, said, none of the characters are really likable. And I said, well, if you'd ever spent any time in the Houston film community, you'd know how accurate that was.
Well, there you have it. But so what part of you went into Joe's unwanted penis?
Probably the fact that it is a really massive penis. I think that's probably the bit that I brought to the table.
Of course.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, it's a very massive unwanted penis, right? So,
you know, that's the story of my life right now, I have to say.
Well, I'll get to work on that, you know. It's funny, but so what do you... Because we talk to a lot of fiction writers, crime fiction and true crime and all that sort of stuff, and there's always kind of a point and subtexts and all these things going on. Do you layer any of these stories? Do you have a subtext? Do you have a point that you want to get across to someone, even though they're entertained and having a good time with the comedy and some of the horror and all that? All of that's there, but underneath and at the end of the book, I'm finished reading it. Is there something you're trying to tell me?
You know, I honestly, I don't think so. No, I want to tell a damn good story. You know, whether it's about, you know, demons or giant creatures or unwanted penises or whatever. I just want to tell the story. If there's any subtext there, I guess it's subconscious. You know, I don't deliberately set out, right, I'm going to write this book, but it's really about, you know, you know, really about how fictional the moon landings are. No, I mean, there may be the odd one-liner that if I want to put a point across that I feel, you know, I'll slip that in there, then I can do that. But there's never an ulterior motive with me. You know, what you see is what you get.
What do you get out of writing a book?
I think the big thing is I get it out of my head. I get all these thoughts, you know, you can speak to other writers, and obviously you do, you know, we write because we have to. If it wasn't, well, all these stuff in our head would stay there and probably drive us insane. So I get that. I get, you know, the sense of achievement of doing it. It's something I've always wanted to do. So I love the whole thing. And I guess it's the love of doing something that I enjoy.
It's an interesting process. What do you dislike about writing the most?
Writing. If there was some way I could just, you know, have the idea and hit a button and it would just do it, that would be great. But I don't know. I mean, it's one of these. I'm going to say the middle bit, because no matter what I'm writing, I think this is a common thing with a lot of writers is you start off the beginning and it's fresh and it's new and it's like, whoa, this is brilliant, and you get to that halfway point. And for me, whether it's a novel, a novella, a short story, get to that halfway point and my brain's just like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something else. And it's just slogging through. Because then, I mean, once you get into the final stretch, you're in the finale, the last, you know, quarter of the book, then it's exciting again because you're bringing things together and you've got the heart-pumping race against time or whatever. But that middle bit is the worst. It really is. And I've actually got a couple of novels that I've got to that middle bit and been unable to push through, and they're just half a novel, and probably will never be finished because I tried and just couldn't get through that.
Maybe put that in your Toilet anthologies for the quick ones. People will be able to have time to read half the story. Yeah, I mean, that could be it, you know, but there's a couple of them I really do want to finish, but again, I've got a stockpile of, I think, at least 3 novels that I just need to sit down and finish them. I've just been that busy, obviously, with the publishing and with ghostwriting that I'm kind of in demand as a ghostwriter these days, so...
But I need. It's one of those things. I need to make time to do that, but I also need to pay the mortgage. So,
Well, with such a massive penis, you should be in command.
well, as you say, since my days as a stripper sort of waned, it's not the same as it was.
It's not the same as it was. Yeah, I get that feeling. What do you think about the horror community and the horror world, even in general? How do you think it's changed with social media?
I think, on the whole, the horror community is tremendous. It is just so many wonderful people. We are the most affable, nice people you could ever. And again, a lot of people think, oh, you got to be something wrong with you because you write all this stuff, and it's the opposite. Because we write all this stuff and we get it out, we are incredibly well balanced people. So the people are great. The community, since I've been in it, social media is a platform for drama, and those that love drama, no matter what community you're in, will create drama. That's the part I don't like. For me, social media for me is about, it's for marketing, it's for networking, and we do that pretty well. We actually have people do that, pay people to do that for us, because I don't have the time to spend on Facebook, unless it's posting public pictures or whatever. Long story short, they're great people. How it was 20 years ago, I don't know. They all seem to have been. It was always great. I remember as a kid watching the talk shows back in England, and finding out that like Stephen King was friends with James Herbert, and they knew Clive Barker, and all these people were all sort of, friends together. They knew each other on some level. I love that. And I don't know if that's the same with other, whether the romance genre or sci-fi or whatever, they all know each other. But, I like that. And they're all great people like, so we deal with Ramsey Campbell, and the guy is an absolute legend. There's a hero of mine from many, many years ago. And they're just great people. He posts pictures of his jigsaw puzzles that he does, and he's very approachable, and, they're great people, absolutely great people.
Yeah, speaking of that, the 80s for horror and early 90s were huge, and I remember reading Ramsey Campbell in the in high school, actually, and it's kind of amazing to be in a book with him right now. But do you think that horror is having like a big comeback, a resurgence?
Well, I'm not sure that it ever went away, to be honest. The 80s was a boom time, because we had I guess the advent of splatterpunk. James Herbert is lauded as being the godfather of splatterpunk. So we had that. We had then obviously the movies, the video, the VHS boom. And if you want to read more about it, VHS, the video nasties from Hellbound Books, available in hardback, available in colour and black and white. Which is literally details the whole video nasty phenomenon in the 80s. So we had that going on. The books, Steve King was really coming into his own during the 80s. He wrote probably some of his best stuff in the 80s. So I forgot the question now. But yeah, so he sort of the nasties thing gave it a bit of a bad turn, but I think it's always been there. Movie-wise, it's big now because, people do all the remakes, and horror movies are, relatively speaking, are cheap to produce. And there's been some big hitters, like The Ritual, for example, or Witch, that sort of thing, that have really made money for the studios. And independent studios are more likely to take on, an unknown. They're not all just doing Stephen King remakes. So, yeah, it's nice. For me, it's always been there. I think if that's your interest, you can always find it. But even now, we are still seeing very much of the poor relation in the literary world. There are bookstores that don't have a horror section, or if they do, it's Stephen King. That's it. And there are so many great horror writers out there that it is a shame. It galls me when, they made another Batman movie. First of all, why? Why? Seriously, why? We know the story. It's the same damn story. Oh, it's darker. I don't care. It's still
How dare you?
Batman. I have to swear. Sorry, you can bleep that out in post. It's the same story. It's the same. Yes, his parents got shot. Yes, his son. Oh, he's got a nice car. And it's seriously. Having said that, when it comes on to Netflix, I'll probably sit and watch it. But they're remaking and it's Marvel, it's DC, it's the same. And then let's remake, a Stephen King movie because it did well in 1991. We're going to remake it, And yet I see all this brilliant original stuff that would make tremendous movies, and they just don't even get a chance, which is terrible. It really is.
Must be kind of a safety thing, like they're going to remake Stephen King. It's just they feel there's it's already going to make it.
Well, it's a two-edged thing. One, it means they don't have to buy the rights because they have them, so they don't have to do that. And two, you put Stephen King's whatever, and as well there's the nostalgia wave as well. People, I remember seeing Pet Sematary back in whenever it came out, 82, 83, and it was great. And that, I'm going to see what. And to be fair, with all due respect, it was bloody awful.
Yeah, it was terrible.
As soon as you say it's a reimagining, it's like, no, that means we've ruined it. So, but again, you put Stephen King's name on it, and boom, you're going to get bums on seats. You're going to get people downloading on the streaming platforms, etc. But yeah, you're right. It's safe. It's safe, and again, I guess the movie business is a business. They want to make money. They don't, want to just be nice. They're in it to make profit.
Yeah. How do you think horror's changed since, over your life?
It's certainly got more visceral. I mean, my very first exposure to grown-up horror was actually James Herbert's The Rats when I was back in middle school. So some kid brought it in, and I borrowed it and read it. It was just like, blew me away, because I've been reading, the kids' sort of horror stories and what have you, and sort of getting, more and more grown up. But horror is sort of, it's become more visceral, because they've more, use the word, light, and more, true to life, I guess. I grew up on the Hammer horror films, for example. Right. The old, it was Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing. It was very hokey. It was hammy. It was fun. Yeah. I think certainly horror now. Again, we went through the wave of it just being gore. I mean, a lot of the 80s stuff was just gore for its own sake. Cheap splatter effects, and now it's become more intelligent. The gore is used to good effect, I think, mostly. I mean, you still get, again, we all love a good slasher movie, but, I like the more sort of the cerebral, the stuff that gets in your head. The stuff that, I think, is Dave said, that, you put the book down, you finish the movie, and you're still thinking about it. And I think there's more and more of that. And I guess as it's chasing the mainstream. But again, horror will always be that poor relation, which is a shame. There's some of the best literature and best movies have been horror.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of movies, I know you write some screenplays. What's your experience been with the film industry?
That is a real open question.
Boy.
That is a can of worms. I started off writing some screenplays when I moved here and started writing in earnest. That is why I write books now. You write a screenplay, no matter how good it is. If I read a statistic just the other day, the tiny number of movie screenplays that are optioned, the even tinier number that are optioned from unknowns, and then the even tinier number of those that are actually made. It's just, I think it's one of those, unless you know somebody or knows somebody or what have you, it's an impossible task, I would say. Certainly as an unknown. Having said that, write a book. You said, with Amazon and the other platforms, you can get your book out there. That can be a foot in the door. I mean, look at 50 Shades of Grey. Look at The Martian, that started off as self-published, and they built a following, and then they were picked up. That is the better way for me to do that. When I speak to other authors, so I'm writing this screenplay and I'm going to send it to the people who do Marvel movies, or just don't. Although having said that, I mean, screenplays for me, it was a great way to hone dialogue skills. I read a lot of Tarantino scripts and a lot of good movie scripts. I got all the favorite movie scripts and read through those to see how they did the dialogue, and that helped. But I think if you're trying to write a screenplay that then you're going to sell to Steven Spielberg, I think really it's not going to happen. Turn that screenplay into a book, get the book out there, and then, then send copy the book to Spielberg.
Yeah, or either sleep your way to the top.
Well, I tried that, and here I am.
Well, you're at the top, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, I might. It's just brilliant. Well, there you go. It worked.
well, speaking of writing dialogue, I was just wondering how you experience your characters. Do you have an inner monologue? Can you hear them? I'm just trying to find out if you're hearing voices.
Absolutely, yes. Yes. And it's funny, there are times when I'll, either in the wee hours of the night when I'm laid awake because I can't sleep or whatever, sometimes I'll find myself, I wonder what so-and-so's doing now. And then it takes a second or two. Hang on, you made him up. But, when I'm in the middle of writing a novel, the people become very real. You're right, I can hear how they speak, the pattern of their speech, what they would say. And like you say, if I'm writing and I write a line of dialogue, you say, well, he wouldn't say that, or he wouldn't say that like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's again, you're right to yourself. These people, they take on a life of their own. Even so much as I always start out with a plan. Otherwise, I meander. I would end up like a 1,000-page book that was really nicely written, but nobody knew what the hell was going on. So I have to work to a plan. But even with that, the characters, once they take on that life of their own, you find them taking you in different directions. But long story short, yes, I do hear voices, don't you?
Always.
Yeah,
there you go.
Psychotic. So did you hear?
Well, that helps.
Well, yeah. Did you hear Bruce Penis talk to you too then, or Bruce Jenner's?
On the penis. Well, he was a character. He was a great little character. So a great big character. But, absolutely. He was a character like any other. And, one of my favourites, actually. He had
He talked to you.
He had it going on. He knew what he wanted and he was damn well going to go get it. And I admired him for that.
Yeah, he slept his way to the top.
And it was funny because I even, as bizarre, literally, as that book is, I even spent a fair bit of time working out how he would move, how he would get around. Seriously. I actually sat and I thought that, again, with my zoology background, I sort of compared him to different similarly shaped creatures. And would he slither like a snake? Would he inch along like an inchworm? Would he, there
Do you act out your character roles too?
Not that one, no.
Well, I thought I'd check. But you do other ones.
I'm not sure about acting out. Mentally, yeah. Mentally, I will act out scenes that they're in. Yeah.
No, it's just we've had writers that will actually dress up and do the part. So, but we don't have them on after that.
Probably just I would tip off the police, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a little bit much. What is James' structure like then? So, do you have to be in a certain mood to write, or can you just do it off the whim? Can someone just say, you've got 3 hours today and you can just sit down and do it? What's it work? How does it work for you?
Well, for me, I have to have structure. All of my school reports from, elementary school, middle school, and into high school. So I'm very easily distracted. Always have been. I'm the guy who I was sat there. I'm supposed to be working, and I'm actually watching a squirrel or something. So, but I set aside mostly mornings. That's when my creative brain is at its best. And I set myself a word target of 3,000 words a day. And I try to get those done in the morning time, and then I have the rest of the day to do business stuff and other things that I need to do. And I have to sit down and make myself do it. And I read somebody wrote an article a while ago saying, with creativity, and we don't force it. But when it's your livelihood, you do have to force it. I mean, certainly when I'm looking at ghostwriting, if I don't force it and I don't write, I don't eat, and it's that simple. So it's helped me to have that discipline, which is important. I think Joe Lansdale, he does. I think he might do 3 hours in the morning and then that's it. But he knows, right, I've done that. That's out the way. I can do other stuff. There are other writers I know that just they can, as and when it suits them,
And what's your atmosphere? Do you have to have like heavy metal music playing, or do you play like ballet in the background? Like what? Or do you have?
Again, it's the easily distracted thing. I have to have silence because otherwise, if I had music and I'd be listening to music, So I have a nice sort of office setup now, and it's me most of the time. I've got my dogs, who and it's great if they want to go out. That gives me a bit of a 5-minute break, which is terrific. Otherwise, I just sit and pee myself, to be honest with you. But yeah, structure is important. I guess because it's a profession. If it was just me writing as I felt like it, then I probably wouldn't get as much done, because I can actually take that discipline for my own work as well.
So can you read other people's books and stories while you're writing, or do you have to be kind of closed off with all that?
I can. I mean, I can do that. I don't get much time to read for pleasure these days, between obviously writing and with Hellbound, we read submissions and we're doing all of that, so I don't have a lot of chance. I remember the last book I bought for pleasure and started reading was Joe Hill's The Fireman. Big Joe Hill fan. I think I had about 3 chapters. I mean, this is probably 6 years ago now. Put about 3 chapters in, and then life and work happened. So I bought some in the meantime, and they're on my shelf, and I will get around to them one day.
Put them down in the bathroom.
Well, I read my toilet zones then, And,
Oh, busy man. So horror zine, what is horror zine all about?
That's genius, that. It's, it's been going a long time. I mean, she I'm not sure how we got to know Jeannie. I think she may have approached us, or anyway, we got to know each other, I think, in one way or another in the community. Horror zine is a great publication. She publishes some tremendous people, tremendous authors. Her sort of trope is the more gentle side of horror. She doesn't go for blood and guts and sex and all the rest of it. But she, like the traditional, your great ghost, the atmospheric ghost stories and the werewolf stuff is brilliant, but it's not over the top. Obviously, good old traditional horror, I think, with the horror zine. And we're absolutely delighted that she approached us with the Ghost Stories book. And we got along well enough for her to talk to us about the werewolf book. The next one, which will be, I believe, next year, is a monsters book. So, it's a nice association for us to have.
Yeah, so if someone's never heard of you before, which I don't know how that could be, and if you were to choose one book for them to read of yours, which one would it be?
Oh, wow. You can't get me. I can't choose. It would depend on who they were. I think, I would say my short story collection, Blood and Kisses. When I'm introduced to a new author, one of the first things I do is see if they've got a short story collection, because you get a nice mix. My collection goes right from my very first published short right through to a couple that I wrote specifically for that. But yeah, if you want a good broad mix of your author, I was introduced to Stephen King. Was it Night Shift, his short story collection? Going back many, many years now. And absolutely loved it. So yeah, I would say, go for the short story collection, and then and then work your way through from there.
Yeah. So, how do people get a hold of you? What's the website they should go to?
Hellboundbooks.com.
Okay, and do you interact with them on social media as well, or is it at all, or is it just paid for them?
We have social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, Goodreads, you name it, we're on it. I don't personally interact with people on that because I just haven't got the time, unfortunately. If someone wants to, people email, I'll happily always reply to emails. Or hit us up on social media, and if it's a question that, I need to field, then it's sent to me and I will deal with that. So, yeah, I said the website, there's the email addresses on there. Drop us an email. Probably the best thing.
Tinder, Grindr, anything like that?
I'm on all of those. All of them. Somebody actually said, and I was a bit insulted, there's one called Silver Daddies. And it's like, seriously?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm on there.
No, and then there's Sugar Daddies, which is not what I thought. Sugar Daddies, like all these nubile young women who want men with money. Well, barking up the wrong tree with me. Really.
No, Silver Daddy just likes the older daddy type with grey hair.
No, Silver Daddy. No, actually, Silver Daddy is for older men to hook up with older men.
Oh.
I'm told. I did actually look at it, and it's like, okay, moving on. not really my bag, but I'll stick to Tinder and Grindr and Bumble and whatnot. Bumble's great. I love Bumble. I just like the word. It's a great word.
Well, so of course we'll put all that up on our website. People can find you with
brilliant. Thank you.
It's all there, and any issues over the COVID? Like, does COVID sort of interfere in the publishing world and the writing world for you?
Do you know, it hasn't. Obviously, 2020 was a nerve-wracking year. Nobody knew what was going to happen. If anything, people were reading more books. I guess people were stuck at home, and they couldn't go out. They couldn't do anything, and people were buying more books, which is, I guess good for the publishing industry. But no, I think Ingram, Spark, and Amazon, I think, use it as an excuse to put print costs up. But other than that, no, it was business as usual. And for me, I work from home anyway. I've been working from home since 2010. Really no change. People say, you can't go out. Well, I never went out anyway.
Yeah.
So it's been business as usual for me.
Yeah, but just a stress level. So like when the country's all freaking out and there's issues, and Donald Trump was in, there's a lot of tension and fighting, and there still is, and then you got COVID and you got anti-mask rallies, and you got all this stuff is happening outside your door, so to speak. Are you still able to write in the horror area fine, or does it doesn't add to it or take away from it?
No, if anything, it's nice to be. It's a nice shut off from all the crap that's going on out there. Although, yeah, again, people obviously writing a lot of pandemic stuff and a lot of horror, that sort of disease sort of horror. I guess they've got up the ante now. One of the biggest things, obviously, is you're writing. Do you write in COVID? I actually, Ghost wrote a book just before COVID, and it was like, well, do we go back to it and build COVID in? How do you do? I've noticed a lot of movies now. If at all they mention it, but it's not involved. Does that make sense?
Right.
But I am actually rewriting a ghost-written book that somebody else ghost wrote for a client of mine. Or actually building in the whole COVID thing, because it actually adds to the story and the paranoia and the tension of the story, and it is kind of related to it. So that works. So that's a project I'm on at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how it affects different people. I know with some of the writers we talked to, they were just shut right down. They were unable to write, I guess the stressing level. And then other people they escape in their writing. So of course they don't. There's no issue at all.
Yeah.
In fact, they could jump in more because they wanted to get away from the outside world, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I get, like you say, I think it affected people in different ways.
Yeah. So what's next for James? What's the next project you're on?
For me, I have two novels. One that was almost finished. It just needs another couple of goes through. It's written. It just needs a bit more polish, a bit of editing. And I'm determined to get that out this year. It's based on one of my short stories. And I started that. I got to the point to finish that just before the whole Hellbound thing sort of happened, and it was just left on the virtual shelf. So I want to get that finished. There's another one I'd like to at least finish it so I can publish next year. And in the mix, obviously, is Hellbound. We've got a bunch of anthologies out this year. We're putting out. Obviously, we've got the Werewolf book coming out. We have a contract with an association with the Bram Stoker estate, so we're working closely with them. So we've got more Dracula and Bram Stoker stuff coming out this year. So yeah, and then obviously there's the ghostwriting. I need to invent like another 2 days per week, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it seems that way at times, doesn't it? You know.
It does, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I know. Well, it's certainly always an interesting conversation, and we're glad you could make it. Of course, the guest we have, he's Mr. James H. Longmore, so thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, James.
Tired of wasting time trying to decide what to watch on your streaming service? Go to our website and look for the Martino movie reviews.
To find out more about our show, guests, or to listen to past shows from our archive, please go to www.houseofmysteryradio.com.
Show's over for now.
Was it as good for you as it was for me?
Well, good night.
This has been a production of Something Weird Media.
I'll be back.